Welcome to Miss Mac's lab. Today I am at my family's ranch and we are going to talk about weathering, erosion, and deposition. So this is a rock. We've got lichens and moss on it. Remember I talked about lichens and moss, they break down the rock into soil. It takes a long time, but it'll eventually get there. And they do this through chemical weathering. Remember they secrete an acid. There's lots here, lots of lichen and moss. They secrete an acid that breaks down the rock. Eventually it creates soil. So this is an example of ice wedging. So when it rains, the water gets in a small crack like this. Eventually it expands until it gets a bigger crack like this, and eventually this rock will just completely fall apart. But ice wedging. Okay, here's another great example of ice wedging. You can see that this rock was once together because the cracks line up together. And this rock's about to fall off right here. Creek, and water runs pretty often through here, and it's been here for quite a while. And the rocks that are on this riverbed are like this. They're smooth. You see how they're very smooth? They don't really have rough edges because the water's been running over it for quite some time. So this road does get washed out quite a bit, and so we just added new rock over there. And this rock looks pretty rough. You can see how it has a lot of rough edges, and when you compare the two, these are pretty soft compared to the new rock that's just been placed here. And so eventually this rock will start looking like these through weathering, and this is through water, okay? Water moving across those rocks. All right, so this is another example of weathering right here. So we've already talked a few examples about weathering, and weathering is the breaking down of the rock, okay? We have not yet talked about erosion, okay? Erosion is the movement of that sediment or rock from one place to another. So we're going to demonstrate that today because it's a little bit more difficult to find erosion happening. So I've got a bottle of water here, and I've got myself on a little bit of an incline, a little bit of a place where the soil's a little bit loose. So what's going to happen is I'm going to pour this water along right here, and erosion is going to take place. All right, so you ready? I'll bring my camera person in a little bit closer so you can see. So here goes the water. So you can see the sediment actually moving. You see it? Look at all that. Look at it moving. It's carrying all of that downstream. And that is erosion. Obviously, if I had more water, it would move it more, but I only had one bottle of water. So this is something that you can try at home, okay? Get yourself a bottle of water, find you a place with some looser rock, looser dirt, and a little bit of a hill, and pour some water on it and see what happens. All right, so this concludes Miss Mac's lab for today. We talked about weathering, erosion, and deposition. Remember, weathering is the breaking down of the rock, erosion is the moving of the rock, and deposition is the dropping of the rock. All of those three things together is what changes the Earth's surface constantly and why it will never look the same. Make sure you guys do the assignment that goes along with this video, and I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something.